Here we are, back in the lovely saddle again for episode number 181 of the Grunge Bible podcast, coming to you on Monday, September the 9th, 2024, or later on in the world in the future. My name's Chris Salona, and here is Ethan Shalloway alongside of me here for another Grunge Rock podcast.
Across the table.
Across the table, across the aisle, across the pond.
I'm calmer than you are.
I'm finishing my coffee. We have here are a series of victimless crimes. Don't go away, man. This affects all of us.
Oh my God.
If you're out there, I'm sure in your friend groups this happens, because I can't imagine this is an original thing, but all of my friend groups, the exact same thing happens where we will hear a reference or see a meme or remember a certain movie scene, and it just dominates life for the next, anywhere from 2 to 5 days. And that happened to us this morning, where we watched the I Could Get You a Tow by 3 o'clock with nail polish scene, the diner scene from the Big Lebowski. And immediately
90 seconds of film.
Yep, immediately goes up on Grunge Bible. I posted it. Yep. We called each other before this episode, and we let off with that. And here we are, less than a minute and a half into the podcast, and we're talking about it again. So this does affect all of us, though. That's the thing. These are basic freedoms.
The Supreme Court has roundly rejected prior restraint on this one.
For your information.
Yeah, it's just, oh man, I watched it. I was like, wow. I was like, Chris, we need to watch this when we're out in LA/Flagstaff. Like we're gonna have fun and watch that, because it's just so good. Necessary. Like it's just one of those old movies. The dialogue is so good. The writing is so good.
It's timeless.
And, everyone knows that the Big Lebowski is goated.
Yeah.
So, friendly reminder here on September 8th. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm good, dude.
I'm kind of excited, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. This past week was pretty busy, even though with the 4-day week, work's picking up a lot for me, which is a good thing. I can make my money in the fall here, which is good. I'm fired up about that. Today's good. We're recording on Sunday the 8th, so the episode's coming out tomorrow. It's in the morning. We're getting this done before we go ahead and release ourselves to watching 10 hours of football, 11 hours of football. So I did it yesterday. It was great. A lot of good college games on. My Iowa State Cyclones took back the Cy-Hawk Trophy on a big 54-yard field goal to win. So I was fired up about that. Fuck Iowa. They suck. It's a Cyclone state, nevertheless. So I'm pretty good, man. A lot of moving parts, as you said, or as you alluded to with the LA thing that we're going to be doing the end of the month. But how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good. So... yeah, it was an interesting week. A lot of shit went down. A lot happened.
Yeah.
But it's just all progress and change, and we're moving on and doing stuff, and it's cool. And this weekend's an exciting weekend, man. I love Sunday football for NFL. Like
this is your Valhalla.
This is, dude. I worked yesterday, and I got back at 4 o'clock, and there's college games on, and I was just like, this doesn't do it for me. Like, I need the NFL. I need professional. And I am like, it just doesn't, like, I do like alumni. We had a long conversation about how college football doesn't do it for us.
Well, the two games yesterday, the two big ones were duds. Texas, Michigan was a dud, and then Colorado, Nebraska in the primetime slot really didn't live up to expectations. So tough.
Yeah, week. It was one of those early weekends where like none of the games matter, and it's just like whatever. But the NFL is a different story. So we're really excited. Of course, the last thing we need to do is record a podcast. That's why we're here.
Save it to the end, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But like, luckily, like, when worst comes to worst, I get to talk to you for an hour and yap about some stuff. It's no big deal.
This is going to be a big episode for the yap. And you know what this feels eerily similar to, Ethan? You remember back when you were a kid and you'd get home from school. I don't know if this happened to you. This is not an original experience, though. You get home from school and you have some homework, and it's a really nice day out, and your mom's like, you have to do your homework before you go outside to play. And I feel like we're doing our homework right now before we get to go outside to play. So
it's like doing the yard work.
Got to do your chores.
What was your chore when you were a kid?
Oh man, I mean, always obviously the rooms. I used to take out the garbage too. I would do that. Kid. Yeah, it wasn't a garbage kid. We used the dishwasher, and I was too short to put all the dishes away because they were up on the top of the cabinets. But I used to like to vacuum, except I just didn't do a good job of it. So my mom moved me off of those off of that. And then eventually the age came where my summer chore was to cut the grass, which is a big responsibility. Trim and edge the grass and everything. So, yeah, it was kind of rotating a little bit. Did you have an allowance? My allowance, I think, was like $1 a week or something, or $2 a week.
Mine was $2. Yeah. Mine was $2 a week. It was, It's so funny because you'd heard people that would get like $20 or
I know,
more,
which is like, bullshit. Whoa. First of all, like an 8-year-old doesn't need $20 a week. I mean, that's like making $100K a year as an adult. Like, you don't.
Dude. Seriously, man. I was so jealous. And I remember, I think one time I was like, hey, Mom, they have like $20. And I was like, that's not, like, we do too. Like, that's not what we're going to be doing. You don't need that much.
Yeah.
And we did like one of the brothers unloaded, one of them loaded the dishwasher. Unloading was always better because it was simpler. But the main one for us growing up when we got to like high school was Quinn mowed the grass, I weed whacked, and Elijah push mowed the greens.
Sure.
Yeah. So we split up the yard into 3 sectors, and my dad would probably go back and fix all the stuff we did. But I was the weed whacker, so I weed whacked all the time. And I kind of I think that's a good middle child. The eldest gets the ride. The middle guy gets
well, that's the thing. You guys had a riding mower. I have the standard issue. So my yard wasn't that big like yours.
Yeah, I was saying, how big was your yard?
Not that big. The first house that we lived in when I was younger, I had just started to mow it, and then we ended up moving. So it really, I mean, I could bang out and still like it's the house that like my grandparents still live in, and like I can go over there and like bang out the front and the back, the cutting and the trimming in like less than an hour. So it's not that big.
Awesome. Yeah. So today is exciting. We got a lot. We've got a lot of like events, right? This episode's going to be about, old events and new events that are coming. So a lot of stuff that we're looking forward to. So, this is a press release by Grunge Bible, basically. Yeah. Just a quick update. And it begins with the individuals that we have to thank. And we can ring the bell. That doesn't make any sense. We can not even finally. We've been ringing the bell a lot. We can ring the bell once again. It's early. It's a Sunday. I'm all fucked up with my grammatical presentation, but we've got a new member of the Patreon at the $2 tier. We would like to welcome the great Sam Bass, coming to us from across the pond here. And he was a big supporter of the show. And I asked him, as we do, with this new offer that if you join the Patreon, we get to do an episode about whatever you want. And I asked him if, that was the thing that got him to pull the trigger. And he said that had something to do with it. But in all honesty, a bit of guilt too. I've listened to you for a while, so I thought I should take the jump and join after all the entertainment you have provided. And honestly, better than a warm and fuzzy feeling, better than learning something, better than feeling like you're sitting with friends, the best feeling you can get from the Grunge Bible podcast is guilt. So I'm very happy to hear that we were able to successfully guilt trip you, Sam. Thank you. In all seriousness, thanks for joining. And Sam does have an episode request, but it's an interview that we're going to try to set up. A little bit more legwork will be involved in that, but hopefully we'll be able to do that. So thank you for your support, Sam. Glad to have you aboard. Yeah, guilt. That's great. If you're out there listening and you've been passively listening, it's time to put on your work pants. Well, here's the thing. Involved. A lot of people have done a lot of things out of guilt. And I know everybody listening, and you and I, Ethan, have both done things out of guilt. So if you're out there, why not just add one more thing to do out of guilt and just give us $2 a month? That's pretty damn cheap. Or if you're feeling a little bit more high octane, you can join the $5 tier or the $10 tier. And I'll say your name every week, which I will do now with our $10 tier, our top tier Patreon supporters. And their names are D-Boat, Kara K, Black Hole Sean, Doug Endy, Down in a Hole, Flat Out Fucked, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Fuck Soup, Epona, Granny Grunge, Gochu John, Jade Mercado, Carlene Salona, Jamie Lynn, Keith White, Millie, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, Nikki Six, Pile of Punk, Russell, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, What the Fuck is Up Denny's, and Sherry Matthews. And I've had some good banter back and forth with the mighty D-Boat lately. He's been hitting up a bunch of shows in and around the area where he lives, and he was able to catch an acoustic performance of King Buzzo recently, which was pretty cool. So he caught that one, and then he saw the STP tour a couple days ago. So I always enjoy chatting about shows, especially get the reports from the road for shows that I'm not able to attend. So just one big community here, and that's what it's all about. So thank you all for your support. I think when artists get older, acoustic and solo is the way to see them. That's going to be like...
Yeah. Most artists that I like, if they were to announce tomorrow that they're doing an acoustic tour, like a small, 800 cap venues or whatever, like sign me up. That sounds amazing.
Right. I think that's where, like, Jerry, do I want to see Alice in Chains right now, or do I want to see Jerry Cantrell, I Want Blood tour?
Yeah. We still want blood.
And that's going to be one of the topics of the episode. But yeah, every time you read so it looked like you were reading off the screen. Usually you write that on a notepad. Were you on the laptop?
So today? I used to be exclusively analog with how I take notes for this thing. And then we switched to digital. We've been doing the shared note lately, which has just been a godsend. So after that, I've just decided to stop writing everything down, and I just put it into my phone. So I just pull up the Patreon list on the website. The genesis of this was the fact that I had filled up 2 notebooks and I just didn't have another one handy, and we were set to record. So I tried one episode with like a legal pad, but it just didn't have the same feel. I felt like I was like preparing for a deposition or something, so which I wasn't. Or I suppose it was a cross-examination. I guess we were cross-examining one another. So
we've been subpoenaed.
Yeah, no appeal on the docket today.
Every time you read the Patreon list, one name sticks out. It changes each time, but this week I want to shout out Russell. What a great
That's a sturdy name. Russell is sturdy. There's not as many Russells walking around as there used to be.
No, yeah. Russell is it's an older name, like Paul. Paul is an old name, but Paul is a strong name.
Yeah.
So
Paul, Charles.
So if you're a Paul out there, like, please join the Patreon.
Yeah. Even if your name's not Paul, just sign up as Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do whatever you want. I mean, fuck, we have Eddie Vedder get me through my second divorce.
Yeah. He'll be on the show at some point. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's pop into let's go start with this day in music, as we always do.
There's a lot going on this day.
There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff, and it's funny because we've talked about, the same people kind of pop up, like Beatles, Elvis, Rolling Stones. Simon and Garfunkel. There's people that we've talked about. So yeah, so let's get into it a little bit. And like this one, 1970, Elvis Presley kicks off his first concert tour in 9 years at a show in Phoenix, Arizona. And I thought this was interesting. Yeah, I thought this was interesting because we talk about people returning all the time. And how about the king of rock and roll taking a 7-year hiatus and then coming back? What would that have been like?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I just a couple months ago I watched the Elvis biopic. I didn't really love it that much, but I know like he was super popular, and then he started doing a bunch of movies in the 60s, and then he did the big comeback special in I think 68 or 69, and then he started touring relentlessly, and he did the Vegas thing, and then obviously he passed away in the 70s. But that must have been a big deal, because if I remember right from my like brief curiosity, I wouldn't even call it research, a lot of the stuff that he did like after the comeback special was received pretty well. It's like the king is back and he still got it. So that's obviously really cool. I'm sure people were skeptical for a little bit after he just done a decade's worth of shitty movies. So, but the king was back.
I'm just thinking about the picture that we send back and forth to each other, and just saying the king is back.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay, in 1970, there it is. There.
It's so good, dude.
What I would do to be
that's how I'm trying to be. That's how I'm trying to be after this podcast.
Oh my gosh. So in 1971, John Lennon releases Imagine in the US. And this is big, obviously. Everybody, Imagine is that song. It's a Mount Rushmore of songs for these guys. And yeah, it's hard to believe that it's been over 53 years ago, basically.
I don't think it's that hard to believe.
Yeah, no, it's not. But
I can't believe it.
The 70s are now 50 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So next up.
Keep going. Yeah, we have a lot of releases.
Do you have more to say about John Lennon's Imagine? I saw something, obviously the Oasis thing's going on, and it's like a fairly widely held belief that Oasis, were the biggest act out of the UK since the Beatles. And I think that's fair. And somebody had the hot take that Don't Look Back in Anger is a better song than Imagine. And I agree 100%. I know we had some Oasis chat last week. There's rumors the US tour is going to be announced soon, which will be sick. I want to try to go to that. That'll be
really?
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you're right.
Really cool. It's just to say you did, you know. Let's move up a year to 1972. Jim Croce's "You Don't Mess Around with Jim" hits #1, and this is just, I fucking love Jim Croce. A couple of songs on here. "You Don't Mess Around with Jim," obviously, which like you better not. Do not mess around with Jim.
Like what an absolute title.
Yeah, like you don't pull off Superman's cape, you don't spit into the wind. You don't pull the mask off an old Lone Ranger, and you certainly do not mess around with Jim. A couple other ones. "Tomorrow's Going to Be a Brighter Day," "New York's Not My Home," "Operator," "Walking Back to Georgia."
Operator, dude.
And then one of the box number 10, "Hey Tomorrow." And then naturally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Rapid Roy, the Stock Car Boy. Man, he was fucking awesome. It's so sad that he passed away so young.
And Operator.
It's Not the Way It Feels. That song's so good, dude. I remember like I got broken up with when I was 17, and like I listened to that song incessantly. I'm just like the lowdown blues with Jim. Yeah, Jim Croce and his musical partner Maury Muehlheisen, they were goats, man. They could play some guitar.
I really appreciate the time that I kind of fall into a Jim Croce zone. It always seems to be pretty. I'm always like, damn, such a good songwriter, such a good guy. I don't know him, but it seems like a good guy, you know? Sometimes you just, you root for people. I root for Jim.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, 1978, the Rolling Stones released "Beast of Burden." Now, the Stones, obviously, incredibly massive. I've talked about it before. My dad, not a big Rolling Stones fan, so I didn't love them. But "Beast of Burden,"
Dude, I'm shocked this one didn't come out till 78. I could have swore, I would have assumed that it came out in like 72 or 73 or something. I didn't realize it was that late. It's from their album "Some Girls." I didn't know that was all the way forward in 1978. So learning something new every single day.
A lot of releases coming out in this day.
Yeah, 9th. Ethan, I'm gonna let you take the next one because this is one of your bands.
Sure. Yep, coming off the monster success in 1982 of Moving Pictures, Rush releases Signals, their 9th studio album, and it features Subdivisions, a song that becomes a regular part of their live repertoire, and the album hits platinum status in only 2 months after release. And yeah, Rush, I guess we say the same thing every time. They're awesome. You don't like them as much. But
I'm getting into them.
I think they're growing.
Absolutely.
On you. Yeah, with Neil Peart. It's just we saw them. We saw the abridged version of them 2 years ago, and a release that I wanted to put on there. Like I said, we just went through 5 different good releases, basically, or 4. So, Signals is a great the 9th album, which is pretty. That's a lot. That's a lot of albums.
That is a lot of albums. Speaking of a lot of albums, on this day in 1990, Neil Young releases his album "Ragged Glory," which I believe is his 18th studio album in his catalog. And this is a great one. Neil Young and Crazy Horse just absolutely banging away. It's got one of my favorite Neil Young songs on it called "Fucking Up," which Pearl Jam covers pretty frequently. Yeah, man, Uncle Neil, in his mid-40s, just, that dude, like, we talk about versatility all the time. That man's versatility, he could do, the theater with just him and a guitar and play his folk songs, or he can unleash the mighty and powerful Crazy Horse and just blow you away. I saw him earlier this year, and he's still unbelievable. So Neil Young's a gem, and
Uncle Neil.
Yeah, Uncle Neil, man. There's a reason why he's Uncle Neil. So
that's amazing. Keep moving on into the 90s, or more into the 90s, is in 1992, we got a dose of grunge. During the live performance of the MTV Video Music Awards, Nirvana plays Lithium, ending in a grand finale where bassist Chris tosses his instrument high into the air, and he tries to catch it, and he misses, and the bass whacks him in the head, as you've all seen the clip. And
oh, yeah.
That would be incredibly embarrassing to do, and probably would hurt a shit ton.
Definitely hurt. Yeah, it adds to the lore, though.
Like, it adds to the lore. It adds to the destruction and what they did. But I just picture Chris being concussed for the rest of the year, trying to play. They probably would have been concussed before that for whatever
he
various
was
things.
dazed and confused from a lot of things. Yeah, this is good. I'm glad this came up because I'll post it on the anniversary, here on the 9th. So I'm pretty excited about that. We'll move forward into the new millennium. In 2003, on this day, Simon and Garfunkel make it official, announcing their plans to reunite and tour for the first time in 20 years. They get more per ticket than any other tour that year, a whopping $136.90 ticket average, and they donated $1 million of the proceeds to the Children's Health Fund at the end. I think it was last week, maybe, when we were talking about the Oasis thing, maybe talking about Simon and Garfunkel and the fact that they toured and like weren't friends at all and just grabbed the money. And I believe this is the one, or certainly one of them, where they toured and, definitely separate buses, separate travel arrangements, and not a whole lot of communication there for them. But, there's a lot of people that this one was significant for.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to be had when, first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
Their beef comes up a lot on here. And it's something that I wasn't really aware of until you started talking about it so much. I just kind of missed it.
Yeah, well, I think like Paul Simon, and rightfully so, like the general consensus, I mean, Paul Simon did damn near everything for Simon and Garfunkel. He's got the better voice, he's a better writer, he's a better singer, he's a better musician, and Art was just riding the coattails for a while. So, I'm team Simon. I don't know how many people are planted their flag in Camp Garfunkel, but I don't know.
Oh my God. I know. Gotta pick one side. So
yeah, this next one that you're about to read, I just read it for the first time, and it was one of those like, who is going to pop up next in this little blurb? People that have nothing to do with one another. So take it away.
Yeah, and it's one of those moments that like obviously doesn't have much significance, but it happened, and just the fact that two people like fought. So. In 2007, during a performance of Alicia Keys at the MTV Video Music Awards, Tommy Lee and Kid Rock get into a fight, prompting presenter Jamie Foxx to decree the white-on-white violence. And it's just ridiculous. Like, Tommy Lee and Kid Rock, like, I don't know. I'm not sure why the fight started or what exactly happened.
They're probably not sure, man.
Yeah, but, like, those two guys are kind of popping up. I've seen some Tommy Lee stuff, and obviously Kid Rock's been around, but... he's been popping up at stuff. So it's just funny. Like if I was a famous musician, I think I'd want to fight Kid Rock at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he'd be ready to go.
I'd also want to fight Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
I don't know who's one person that you'd want to fight.
Should you and I fight both of them, like 2v2?
2v2.
But that assumes that they would fight, like alongside one another, which I don't know. 2007's long enough ago that maybe they buried the hatchet.
I think Tommy Lee's pretty tall, isn't he? Isn't he pretty tall?
I mean, we've definitely got to be stronger than both of them.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, like with that be like, I feel like
Tommy Lee's only 6'2", so we got him.
There you go, we got him. I don't know what Bobby Ritchie's height is, but
yeah, I'm definitely gonna look it up.
Yeah, that one's gonna be important.
6 feet.
Yeah,
okay,
6 feet. Yeah, we've got him.
We're
averaging
in the bag.
Yeah, for sure.
You're definitely stronger than both of them, and I'm taller than both of them.
Yeah, so I take Team Grunge Bible in that fight any day. This next one, the final This Day in Music for today's episode. This is one that we all remember well. This was kind of
this is actually a really perfect
this one's
history.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad we get a chance to talk about this because this was like the heyday of Twitter, I remember, and everybody was losing their shit over this. On this day in 2014, the great U2 Apple experiment came into this world where Songs of Innocence was loaded onto the libraries of over 500 million iTunes users without permission and without charge. It was free. It just went on there, and I think everybody looked at that and everybody hated it. I remember looking at my iPhone, and all of a sudden, because I used to use iTunes at the time, and I used to do like YouTube to MP3 and like curate my library and everything, and all of a sudden I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I might have had like one or two U2 songs on there at the time. I hadn't really gotten into them yet, and I remember I was like, did I buy it? Like, how did this end up here? And then naturally you go to social media and everybody's losing their shit over it. And what are your thoughts on this? Because my thing, like real quick, like it would have been cool if the music was good.
Give us war. Give us, you know,
like Pride in the Name of, like something. Like just give us a greatest hits,
tongue baby.
songs of innocence, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
U2's kind of lost the plot, I think. You know, after the album that Beautiful Day was on, I think they kind of lost it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years removed from this situation. You know, it was before music was. I mean, Spotify was just getting going. So it was before.
I don't even think it was really available. Yeah, I think it might have
Right.
just. I think it came of. It wasn't certainly popular. Like not many people had Spotify, I don't think, back then.
Yeah, it was right between like the change of guard and how people listen to music and how everything was free.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put it on, and like people were still downloading stuff to their phone. So like, and it's funny because my dad's E2 is like, I don't know why people are freaking out. They just got a free album, which is in reality, it's like, yeah, why are people?
That's
so
the
mad?
mature take.
Yeah, because like you said, it's just free. I still have it on my phone, so I don't know if I've ever tried to delete it. I don't know if it was possible, but
Well, that was my favorite one. I remember people like there were a couple different things. Like people were like, I deleted it immediately, and then there were other people that said like, I can't delete it. And then my favorite camp, people swore that they said I deleted it, and then the next day it was right back on. So I don't know what one of those is true, or maybe it depended. Maybe there were three bits of code in there. It's like you can't delete it, you can, and then like if you delete it, it's coming right back to you.
I would love to know the conversation like after it's happening, be like with U2 and the camps and just being like, so everybody hates it.
You know this was Bono. You know Bono did this. This wasn't The Edge. This wasn't Larry. Like this was Bono.
And they're just like, so everybody's pissed. Like, probably like, what the hell? Like, why?
It's like we did it.
I don't know. It's funny. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where reluctantly I didn't delete it, but I didn't listen either. So it's just been sitting there, and it comes up, and it's just, I mean, I couldn't tell you much about the album. I mean, it's definitely played on accident on my car, and I change it immediately. And I love U2.
Yeah, this one just doesn't hit for me. Yeah, this one persisted.
It's just an interesting point of time. Like I said, everything's changing, and then they tried this, and it just people hated it.
Yeah. Well, because I remember at the time Pandora was super popular, and that was like towing the line between on-demand music and not necessarily on-demand, because you could pick like your station and it would just play random shit. And then shortly
Pandora
thereafter,
was the shit. I love Pandora.
Dude, it was. I used to play so much Pandora, and then I went to college. No, I went to Iowa State. So after Pitt, I switched to, because remember when we were at Pitt, we were Pandora people. And then I switched to Spotify, and then I got Spotify Student, and then I've just been hooked ever since. But this is a weird transitional point in time.
Sadly, Pandora got left. They got left by Apple Music and Spotify. If only Pandora was like, Pandora is such a cooler name than Spotify.
Yeah, and I still, as a
it's
tribute,
a cleaner look too.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the green. The green is cool, but like,
as a tribute to days gone by, I still have not deleted my Pandora app, and my account's still on there. And like once every 8 months or so, I will either intentionally or accidentally click into it, and it's just a time capsule as to what I was listening to in 2014, because I still have all the radio stations set up. Awesome. And it's funny because all of my recent ones, that's when we first started getting into grunge, and all of the recent ones were just like grunge stations. But it's a fun little time capsule. Yeah,
their algorithm and their curation of playlists is much better than, if I remember correctly, much better than Spotify.
Yeah, I do remember though with Pandora, the thumb up and thumb down function had a lot of pull, and you could manipulate a certain radio station into being something totally opposite of what it was when you started. Like if you did like even flow radio or something, you could somehow manipulate it into being like a new wave station or something, or it would just only give you days of the new. It was kind of fun, and I remember I was like
playing the God strings.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like invariably, I'd always get to the point. It's like, well, like this station's ruined for me. Like I gotta set out, and like instead of even flow, like I'm gonna pick like deep or something and just start again.
I love that. We're just like, yeah, this playlist with Wood is no longer good, so I'm going to make a playlist of Them Bones and hopefully get a whole different set of.
It usually worked. Oh man,
it did. It 100%
we should do an episode about like that time, that era, because that was like the era that we came of age musically. We always talk about listening to the radio in the car, but like the first time that I think we had like our own our own choice, and we could kind of put our hands on the scale, was with Pandora. So we got to do like an ode to Pandora, and like
I love it.
Yeah, we should open up the app and just talk about what's going on in there. That'll be a good
I remember
one.
my what's current. I remember the playlist. It was like There Will Be Time and Little Lion Man playlists. I did a lot of Mumford and Son playlists because that was when they were
you had to be there.
Dude,
Stomp
you had to
and
be
holler
there.
music, man.
Oh, dude. I'll never forget. That's still one of the best albums in my lifetime. Little Lion Man. The way that it came on the scene. Talked about it before, but I'm ready to do an episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Pandora episode.
Yeah, open up Pandora's box, if you will.
Oh yeah. So that puts a bow on this day in music. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good banter, but that doesn't. At the same time, that doesn't, because we got a lot of more events that are happening right now.
Yeah, we got a lot of yapping to do about a lot of different things here. This is like a smorgasbord episode. This is the buffet. This is
the 5 good minutes, and this is the big finish. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just did 5 good minutes on the U2 thing, and now now it's time for the big finish. Ethan, I'm gonna start the big finish with one question. Do you want blood?
Chris, I want blood. Yeah.
I need blood. I yearn for blood.
So, as you guys know, we have Vilified that came out. Now has it been a month?
Month or two, yeah. It was either late August. I think it might have been July. I don't remember.
Jerry Cantrell has been in the works and, obviously announced the album I Want Blood. He began the 7-week tour, and Afterglow, the new single, just came out. New album comes out October 18th, and he's touring with Candlebox and Bush right now. And we did an episode about a preview of the album with all the people that are playing on it. A lot of star power.
Oh yeah,
and we got another taste of what's gonna come. And Chris, I gotta say, I love it.
Dude, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it, and it has this, I mean, honestly, it has this Brighton factor to, like, it's a new Jerry. It's a little bit, it's like it's a play on his old Degradation Trip, and some of his, I can hear the old stuff, but like, I don't know, man, it was just like, it had this like brighter kind of like, I really like the guitar tones, basically. It was really solid.
Yeah.
The tone of his voice and the chorus and the way that his melodies, it was really fun. I liked it. I listened to it like 5 or 6 times on my drives yesterday. And
yeah,
I thought it was good. I mean, like, I think it's going to fit really well into an album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hammered this one a lot last night to prepare, and then this morning a little bit too. I like I Want Blood, or Vilified rather, a little bit more. Although I do appreciate that this one's like a little bit slower. Kind of to use to put the B word in here, a little ballady, I suppose. The licks and the riffs are a little bit more drawn out, which I like. And with Jerry, I think a lot of times too, when singles are being released in advance of an album, people try to glean like, oh, like this is what the album is going to be, like, this is the style. But even this one not being my favorite, like there's going to be a lot of diversity on this album, I think. So I'm not really not upset that like, oh, like they're all going to feel this way, but I liked
Vilified
it.
Vilified and Afterglow are very different. So you're right about that.
They are.
And if we thought one thing when we heard Vilified, maybe we think a different thing now that we heard this one.
Yeah.
So like that makes the album, I think it's going to be a very complete album, and which, not shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that Jerry's going to put together something that flows, has a lot of,
because he did the same thing with Brighton. If I remember, the first 2 singles were Atone and Brighton, and those 2 songs could not sound more different. I remember Atone was like a lot of like Western vibes to it. So this one still, you get some diversity and some variance from Vilified. I like this one. I'm still really excited for the album. Like Jerry Cantrell, you never have to worry that you're not going to like it, and with Jerry, you never have to worry that he's going to take you to a place that you don't like. He just delivers every single time. And I was listening to it, doing a lyric read right before we came on, and I loved like the closing lyrics. Try hard to bleed slower. Here you're sinking low. I'm lower. I fucking love that, and that ties in with "I'm calmer than you are." It's like, like you're low, like I'm lower, man.
I'm lower. You can't get as low as me.
Yeah, the low pad level wins. The low man wins in the trenches. So Jerry's a winner.
anytime there's new music that comes out from an artist that I like, say the Foo Fighters, Pearl Jam, and you have songs that when you hear their name, you think of them.
Yeah.
Like you immediately, like with Jerry, it's like, I think I've cut you in for his solo stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, what song in this album, like, is Afterglow going to be that for me? Am I going to, like, 5 years down the road, am I going to, like, know exactly how it sounds as soon as I hear it type of thing? And I'm always wondering, like, how these newer albums, and it's funny because I always doubt that I will when a band has a lot of history, like, oh, like, I don't know if this album's gonna like me, but usually it does. Usually there's something sticks out. So,
well, it's a double-edged sword. You've put out so many good tunes, throughout your career that it's like, you're putting out new stuff, and there's always going to be people that are tempted or decide like, why am I going to listen to the new stuff? I could just go back to listen to the things I already like. Yeah. And you made a good point, kind of speculating about like, is this song going to be one for you? And I want to get your thoughts on this, like with music. Are first impressions important to you? Because for me, the more I listen to music and the older I get and the more time I spend listening to different things, the less stock I place in my first impression of something. So with this one, for example, I didn't dig it as much as I digged Vilified, but like the relationship is just beginning, and there's a lot of time that's yet to be spent with these songs. And, secondly, you also don't know where this one's going to fit in on the album, and how it's going to feel. So I kind of reserve my judgment and my impression of it. I think it's going to change as time goes on. But like, how much emphasis do you place on like the first time you play something?
It's interesting. You said that. I think I'm a little bit of the opposite as you.
Okay.
In the sense that I think I've guarded myself to be like, oh, it's a first impression, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But then as I grow older and stuff happens, like I find myself always going back to what my first impression was. So if I really like the song, usually that sticks out. So like if something really impresses me right away, like I can kind of count on it being like, you know what? If I really liked it at the start, like it's probably going to grow even more. So
sure.
Or if I didn't like it, it's going to be, there's a 50-50 shot, but it seems that my first impression usually has a lot of weight moving forward, or I like to think I have a good ear, you know what I mean? So at the same time, like when I hear it and I go, oh, this is actually really good. It turns into being something that I really like, but I definitely don't like, I give it time and space to grow, but I don't know. I think the first impression is still really important.
Yeah, I suppose with me, it's like if
like your instincts.
Yeah, if I listen to something the first time, there's like two tracks that it can fall into. Like if I'm really digging it, then that's my first impression. I'm like, yes, this is good. But if I don't like something immediately, my first impression, my takeaway nowadays isn't really, oh, I don't like that. It's, oh, I should give this some more time, and I should revisit this a little bit. Like I'm a little bit more measured to like write something off, I suppose, in the beginning, which
it also has a lot to do. Like if it's a random artist, that you never heard, that impression, there's no history to kind of sway, or have you, versus like Jerry or, on Pearl Jam, you're going to be, there's a longer leash when dealing with stuff like this. And, so it has a lot it's very dependent on the history you have with whatever you're experiencing.
It's like the experienced quarterback, they get the call from the OC from the sideline, and, they go to the line, and, they've earned the right to survey the defense and, maybe change things up a little bit, and that's Jerry Cantrell. Like Jerry is like Peyton Manning. Like he knows the playbook better than anybody, better than the offensive coordinator. And he's going to go up there and make some reads. And, you give him that rope to do that with, when you listen. So he's going to take care of the ball.
And he's going
to make the right decision. Exactly. That's the thing. Like he's the quarterback.
He's the starter. Like, we're not changing.
Like, the backup doesn't even have his helmet on. He's not even, he's sitting on the sidelines. He doesn't have to get warm because it's Jerry's offense. It's Jerry's team.
Where like Malik Willis came in and fumbled 2 plays, and it's like he's probably cut. Like he had one shot and he blew it already, and it doesn't matter how small or the situation.
Because that's the thing with a new artist. Like if you don't like it, you're clamoring to check something else out, or maybe go to a different artist or something. But Jerry, it's like, all right, like Jerry goes on the field, and like maybe if they get a first down, they have to punt. You're not worried. The defense is going to get the defense is going to get a stop, and Jerry's going right back out there. So I have no worries with some of these artists for sure.
Yeah, but I do think that first impressions still are very important, and more so your gut instinct. Like it
Okay,
seems to be
yeah.
correct in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trust
So
it.
anytime a young band or someone can impress me,
Mm-hmm.
I usually know I'm like, okay, like I'm probably gonna dig some of their other stuff, and I have a lot more confidence in spending time with it. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Well, we're drawing closer and
I think
closer
that's
to the
good.
full reveal of
Yeah.
I Want Blood. October 18th is 5 weeks away now, 5.5 weeks or so. I can't believe that it's coming. It's coming soon. So we're gonna move to the next portion of the big finish here. Ethan, this one snuck up on me because I had heard that there were rumblings of a Linkin Park reunion, and then it was because I remember Oasis, Linkin Park, and Sum 41 were all teasing shit at the same time, and Sum 41 was like, no, because I think there was a rumor that the frontman for Sum 41 was gonna like join Linkin Park or something, and then you didn't hear anything from Linkin Park, and then lo and behold, Linkin Park is back. They are back, and they announced a reunion, a new album, and a new singer, Emily Armstrong, formerly of Dead Sarah, which I believe is a band that she founded. And this one has been quite polarizing. I think nobody's lukewarm about this. You have, I think the mature people who are excited about this, a new chapter in a band that can't go back to the old chapter, obviously, because Chester Bennington's no longer with us. And then on the other hand, you have the mouth breathers who need to go touch some grass, who are very upset and believe it is a disgrace to the legacy. What's your read on this? I think you're excited about this. I know you texted us about this. Drew texted about this. I bet Drew's pumped, and I bet you're pumped.
Drew texted like I didn't already text him about it. I'm wondering if he saw it. I was like,
well, Drew's not as online as we are, I don't think.
Yeah,
so
I know. He's very busy these days.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on. It's a crazy time.
Yeah. So initial reaction. So this is awesome. I'm very excited for this. I listened to the new song. So they have a new album, From Zero, coming out November 18th. The titles are all out, and The Emptiness Machine is their lead single that they just released. And I listened to it, and yes, it's not old Linkin Park, it's new Linkin Park, but they have some of the Mike's still in the band, and
right.
And they have this nice co-lead with a male and female vocal, and this is where I got excited because if you remember, like say Evanescence and some other
that always works well.
Yeah, it plays. It always if the lead women singer has that factor that everybody loved in the early 2000s, and like with the heavy rock kind of like background, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Was it Flyleaf? Remember Flyleaf, dude?
I don't actually.
You don't remember?
I don't.
Dude, you don't. Hold on. I'm blanking on the
There's
title.
There's a flag on the play. This is where Tony Reale comes in with the.
I'm
with
so
the
sick
mistake
by
that you made.
Flyleaf.
I'm sure I would if I heard it I would remember, but yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so the back and forth. I mean, it is like if you have two guys singing, I mean, they can sound different, but like it's really contrasting and unique. And she is an amazing singer. Her stuff with Dead Sarah, like I got into it a little bit in preparation and was like, oh shoot, like she's really talented.
And, you sent me some stuff from Dead Sarah that I was really impressed with.
Yeah, and she's done she's recorded with Beck, Demi Lovato, AWOL Nation, The Offspring, and like, she's been around. So she's been getting ready for an opportunity like this.
Hole too.
To be
some stuff with the Hole.
Yeah, to be the headline or the header. And yeah, like I said, I'm really excited for this sound of music of the guy girl kind of collab at the top, and where she, is a focal point, but also, you're still gonna have hopefully you still have the rap of Linkin Park and the kind of like the co-lead, which everybody likes. So it's not like the she's the only person that's burdening, taking over.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's gonna be different, and that's why. People are still going to compare to Chester and what it used to be. But the nice part is like, it's different. Like it's not like, oh, this person's trying to be the same. It's like a total different vocal range where like
it's not a
really
retread. I'd have less excitement
exactly.
and less respect for it if they just sought out somebody that could emulate Chester's parts.
Who tried to just a screamer who tried to, a young screamer.
That would because I think a critique that people have of this is that it's patronizing and it's a money grab, but it feels so much less patronizing and not patronizing at all to me, because it's a risk, right? To start again with a new singer, and to put out new material. Those are risks, and it's got to be exciting for the band. And that's the thing. I always think it's hilarious to me that people that are critics of bands getting back together with a new singer or something, to think that they believe that they know better than the people in the actual band. Like, better than Mike Shinoda, that like, all right, like this is a bad idea. It's Mike's band, so like who fucking cares? And they did that.
Like, who's affected more by losing Chester, you or Mike?
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's one of the, and
who knows what Chester would have liked, or who knows like how the band should move on. I mean, in reality, like, Mike, I mean, he wrote a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
And a lot of the lyrics.
And he's an important part of them, too.
So is he supposed to not play the stuff that he's worked on all of his life? I mean,
it's the same conversation that we have about every single band whenever this happens, and it's always going to happen, because a fact of life is that, a bunch of teenagers are going to grow up with a band and they're going to love it, and then, one of the important people of the band is going to retire or pass away, and everybody else is going to want to go on, and then they get pissed off about it. And I just think it's a fruitless exercise that there's no end. And why be upset about things? If you don't like it, just don't listen to it, but leave it for the people that want to listen to it. So I'm excited. I saw they did like an announcement live stream, and they played a lot of the older stuff, obviously, and I thought it sounded cool. I'm into it. I'm into it for sure. Linkin Park's not as big of a band for me as it was, I think, for you, and certainly for Drew. But needless to say, it's something that I'm going to check out. So I did see some rumblings, and this just feels like something Drew would know a lot about, and he'd be able to critique it. Apparently, Emily Armstrong is a Scientologist. I don't know anything about the Church of Scientology other than that I think it's bad. But who's to say
I didn't know
whether or not you should listen to it or not. I didn't do enough research to talk about it, so I just needed to mention it and just say that, like, I'm aware of it, and I don't understand enough to accurately critique it.
Well, okay, so I got into the rabbit hole a little bit because I think
Tom Cruise is a Scientologist, I think.
Oh geez, Scientology is fucked.
It is fucked,
very
isn't
culty, and it's very. I mean, it is a cult. And it's super fucked. And so what happened was, Danny Masterson, you probably saw this. There's a lot of press about this.
Yes, I did see this.
And that's the guy from That 70s Show, and he's what's his name? I never watched that show, but he's a child actor and an actor, and he got charged with rape of like 3 girls, and the school of Scientology covered it up for 20 years. And because it's a small cult, and it's been like 20 years going, and she was, I think, friends with him, as many people probably were in the industry. Like, I'm not going to hold it against her because she's came out and said, like, stuff came to light, and I do not support that.
Oh yeah, I've got the quote right here. And she said, because it was a big thing. I don't know if
people were giving him a bunch of shit that she maybe, like, because she probably was friends, and people mess up, and then she makes a decision to walk away. So, like, I'm not gonna. I mean, she publicly said she doesn't support what happened, obviously, because it just got finalized, like, in the past year or so.
Right.
It's new.
Yeah, and the statement was, several years ago, I was asked to support someone I considered a friend at a court appearance and went to one early hearing as an observer. Soon after, I realized I shouldn't have. I always try to see the good in people, and I misjudged him. I have never spoken with him since. Unimaginable details emerged, and he was later found guilty. To say it as clearly as possible, I do not condone abuse or violence against women, and I empathize with the victims of these crimes.
Right. And I'm not going to question that statement. It makes total sense.
Right.
Like, obviously, I totally agree with her. And it is but so I got a little bit into Danny Masterson, who is like sounds like a piece of shit.
Bad person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, if anybody that does something like that to other people is a horrible person, and certainly somebody that I wouldn't want in my company. And Emily seemingly is in the same boat.
So yeah, and the whole Scientology, I read into it. And
Scientology's fucked up, yeah,
dude. It is weird. It is very weird. And because it's all based around like it's a made religion for money. Like it's very clear that they do stuff, and if you want to repent for your sins, you have to pay for it. Like legit, you have to pay money,
weird.
And once you paid, you get a pass, or it's called something. So it's like legit, like just taking money to tell people that they are clean. Or something like that. It's there's probably Scientologists listening to this that is probably pissed, but I'm sorry.
Fuck it. Yeah.
From what I read, I know
the tent is
and I've
not
heard
big
about
enough for you here.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a lot of drama with that and the release. I think there's a lot of buzz around it right now. So
well then you also like and not to comment on it because I'm not even really sure how to articulate my feelings about it, but then you get into the, separating the art from the artist thing, which is a discussion all its own that I don't feel prepared to get into right now. But, from a purely musical standpoint, it's something that I'm looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, it's exciting when people, it's been 7 years since Chester passed and
right.
So they haven't done anything. So this is, maybe a comeback that we didn't really expect, and it's totally it's going to look and it's going to look totally different with Emily at the front. So yeah, I think that it's very exciting. They're opening up their reunion tour September 11th at the Kia Forum, which is
Forum. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
The Forum, they might hold the belt right now, Chris.
Dude,
does MSG still? I mean, maybe the Sphere does. The Sphere might own the belt for best venue in the U.S. I don't know, but I feel like the Kia Forum, still,
it's the place to go. It's a place.
It's where people start
the
tours,
Forum and you play the Guard, and
like
they're just places of prestige.
Yeah,
which is great. This last piece of the Big Finish, the last content piece before we get to songs of the week, which I suppose is the end of the Big Finish. But this one kind of came up on us all of a sudden.
100%.
And Ethan, so I texted you earlier this week. I was like, hey, do you know who MJ Lenderman is? And I don't think you weren't sure. You hadn't heard.
Yeah, name recognition. I've seen him and I've listened to him on playlists. And I listened to his band Wednesday a few times from a friend, but I didn't make the connection. So I wasn't in hot pursuit of this new album that came out.
I like the way you said that. Yeah. So I've been a fan of MJ Lenderman for a few years. He had an album in 2021 called Ghost of Your Guitar Solo, which I thought was really cool. And he has a new album that just came out a few days ago called Manning Fireworks. And the lead single so this album was something called She's Leaving You, which came out earlier in the summer. And I remember hearing it and I got really, really, really excited for it. And now that this album is out, Manning Fireworks, I believe it's MJ's fourth studio album, and he's only 25.
Yeah.
This one's out and I've been spending a lot of time with it and I fucking love it. And I know you listened to it, and one of our other friends by happenstance unrelated texted you about it. It was like, hey, you need to listen to it. I had a couple of people text me about it. They're like, hey, if you haven't listened to this, you got to check this one out. And this one's just kind of coming together, and I think it's going to be the hot topic for a while because it is a really, really great album. And I'm happy it's here, and I'm glad that you're digging it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it came out September 6th, Friday.
Yep. New Music Friday.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. September 6th, Manning Fireworks, and 25 years old. And you probably out there listening, you maybe, he's getting a lot of press right now, but maybe you haven't heard of this guy. And, it's, like I said, I had a friend who I really value music experience. He was the singer to the band that, Drew and I were in high school, and he's always got great takes. And when he hit me up and he's like, I've been anticipating this for a year, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I was just like, I got to take this more serious, too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a real good, it's been a really good listen. It's about 40 minutes long, the album, and it's one of those, like I said, it's emo, folk, kind of indie. And man, when I listen to it, it really something about emo music in the fall, right? All of a sudden, I'm definitely getting back into the sector. Not that it's Midwest emo, but the way that his voice, he has a very unique voice, and I there's a parallel that I've been trying to make every time I listen to it that I can't. Maybe it's Mac DeMarco. It's like a Mac DeMarco for sure.
Yeah, a lot folkier than that, though. I would say with a little bit of a Western
his voice.
emphasis. Okay, yeah.
His voice has it's say in tune, out of tune, almost like Brian from the Front Bottoms. And anytime that comes up, like it takes me back to when I was a teenager, when I was like smelling like school was starting.
Yeah.
And we did an episode last year about back to school, and like the fall will forever be that for me. And this album, Back to School Time, is a perfect, like it lined up really well.
I love a good fall release.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This one, I would say, like all of the normal critiques of modern, like if you want to call it indie music, rock music, folk music, whatever roof you want to house this under, I don't think any of those critiques apply or are valid with this. Like this one is just, it's so well done. It's so impressive. There's a lot of weight and content to this. Like it's not just like open space, and it's not cheap. You know what I'm saying? Just like in the way that the songs are constructed and the talent that he has, of which he has a lot of it. And you know, these are, they get you thinking. They sound amazing. It's just really, really, really well done. And this is just another instance of something that I think in a lot of circles has been highly anticipated. And he knocked it out of the park. And I think this is the one where he's going to begin to transcend a little bit, I think, from like the indie space to maybe a little bit more, dare I say, mainstream. But yeah, this album is really, really sick. I like all the songs on it, really, but Joker Lips is really great, and Wristwatch. Those are probably my two favorites, along with She's Leaving You. I mean, the melody in She's Leaving You, I got so excited when I heard that first single earlier this year. It's just a really, really great song. So, you know, this is for people, and I posted about it actually on Grunge Bible. I was like, this is like, if you like music, like, I think you're going to like this one. And yeah, that's just really the bottom line for it.
Just like we were talking about, first impressions, you know, or gut reactions. When I listened to this, I was just like, same thing. I was like, you know, I'm no engineer, but I was like, this is made really well.
Yeah.
I was like, the tones, his guitar, his vocals, the way that it's coming through, like, and I think the reason I liked it so much is because this was singer-songwriter. Like, he's playing a guitar. It's not produced in a, you know, there's no auto-tune, or there's no like this is the band playing together and making music, and it's like complex in what's going on.
It's real.
It's very real. And you can feel that through the album.
Yeah. And
that is all I need to get hooked. And so, like we were talking about, like, I got hooked on it. I really like it. I totally agree what you're saying is, like, 5 years down the road, people are going to remember, like, when Manning Fireworks came out, and it'll be, you know, it'll be in his repertoire for his entire life, you know, and wherever his career goes. But I think that people will for sure remember, like, oh yeah, that's when, you know, because he might have a few albums that may say surpass or have whatever, but like it all started here because this was just a really well done product and great songs. Would be so fun to see.
100%. Two things I want to say about it. This kind of feels similarly to when Phoebe Bridgers started to make it big. Like when people started to listen, and obviously she's gotten humongous. I think, you know, Boy Genius played into that a lot and the phenomenon that became. But this just kind of feels like, you know, something that's on the precipice of getting a lot bigger. And it's really great. And the other point I have to say, I love that it kind of came together where, you know, we get music recommendations all the time and we talk music with so many different people. But I would say, like, there's a handful of people that we each have in our lives that when they give us a recommendation or if they tell us to listen to something, you place a lot of weight in that because you really admire their taste. So like, when, for example, when Sam texted you about it, like, you're like, all right, like this is for real. And like, same way when you text me or when I text you about stuff, it's like, all right, like I'm going to listen to this. And then like, similarly, like my really good buddy Austin texted me about this album and he's like, have you checked this one out yet? And I'm like, you know, if say, it's like, if there, like, there's certain people that we all have in our lives that it's like, if they ask you about an album or send you something, it really tells you all you need to know. And like, you just know that it's going to be good and you know, you're going to like that. So I'm happy that, you know, we can share that, you know, maybe with some people here, if we're those people for someone out there. I think this is a good one that you're gonna like. You know, this is a rebuttal to there's no good music out there anymore. Nobody makes anything good, because they certainly do. And MJ Lenderman is one of those people making good music right now.
Yeah, and it may not be your style too. Like I said, sometimes if you don't like a different tone of vocal, that
Yeah.
maybe
Kind of feels like Whiskey Town a little bit to me, like the Ryan Adams project, but
yeah.
like a little more rocky.
And so like if you sometimes when I listen to stuff, I'm like, okay, this isn't what I like, but I can definitely appreciate the difficulty and like
Oh, hell yeah.
what goes into this. And for some reason, this does have a depth to it that is like when I was listening to it one night, late night, I was laying in my bed. It was like the last thing I think I was doing some notes and I was just laying there and like, it had this feel and this like comfort kind of hug. And like I said, it took me back. And for some reason, like it held my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And that initial reaction, like, is like holds a lot of weight with me for some reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, you just were able to kind of like
Yeah, you're fast friends with the
doors.
album.
Yeah, you're able to like remove yourself from what's going on, and that was a nice change of pace because obviously everything is so fast these days, and yeah, I think that it was really well composed, and we just have to be like, you just have to the more time we spend with it too, it's gonna be like, oh, this sticks out. So yeah, I was impressed. I was definitely impressed.
Yeah,
25 too,
absolutely.
man. That's not that's not
Just
an
a
old
kid.
age to be. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, man, this is a good one. And if I can jump the gun a little bit, I'm definitely going to have to pick one of these as my song of the week if we're ready to get into that portion of the show.
Yeah, I mean, we got a few singles here, but
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
a couple bands.
Yeah, I'm picking Joker Lips from the MJ Lenderman album as my song of the week.
So Brian, my boss, we were on the job, and I, yesterday, and I was like, hey, do did you hear this album by MJ Lenderman? And he was like, caught, and he was like, actually, yeah. And he was like something Lips, Joker, and he had heard a song and he knew, and he has good taste. He has a good. I trust his judgment too, and just the fact that it, name recognition popped up, I was impressed. So, okay, for my song, do I want to take one from there? Do I want to? I don't know. Let me take one quick look at my liked songs because I go back. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I'm gonna do the a band that I found. Oh, there's actually two. I'll go with this one. So when I went and popped on the Linkin Park playlist and was listening, the second song that came up on their playlist was "Pieces" by Sum 41.
Oh yeah,
and Sum 41 was awesome. I
People
used to
forget.
love it. They were a part of I don't know, Burnout 2 or some of the video games. Like Sum 41 was always on those soundtracks, so everybody had name recognition of them when we were growing up, and they kind of rocked. And there was like obviously Blink 182 was maybe like it was a little bit higher than Sum 41, but dude, those guys were sick. And this song, Sum 40 Pieces off of the Chuck album, is really really good, and maybe not the Sum 41 that you are thinking about. So I'm gonna put it on there.
That's awesome. Yeah, Sum 41. That's it's one of those, like, if you were there, you were there, and you get it. Bands. I think they're on their farewell tour right now. I think they're closing up shop here pretty soon. But
so many bands to go see.
I know, man. What an era. We would also like to thank our producer Drew McFadden for working on this episode and all of the previous episodes and all of the episodes to come. Drew, we love you. You're the man. We're looking forward to seeing you at the end of this month. It's going to be great. And for everyone out there listening, if you're still with us, thank you so much. Maybe check out some of these songs that we spoke about. Maybe you could pull a U2 and like grab your buddy's phone and like download the Grunge Bible podcast to it. So they're like, what the hell is this? That could be a good one to do. Share us with your friends. And as we said, hopefully we've successfully guilt tripped you enough that you join the Patreon, because I'm looking forward to talking about somebody next week. But I don't really have anything else. Do you have any other thoughts here before we close up and get to the first NFL Sunday of 2024?
That's all I can think about, Chris. No, I don't have any thoughts. Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much for producing this, putting this together. Thank you, Chris, for pulling this together in the morning of
Ethan.
Sunday football. And I just want to, speaking of sages and music, I want to shout out Eric Lederman.
Absolutely.
Every time he gives you a recommendation, you better listen to it. And if you don't understand it the first time, you'll figure it out. Yeah, absolute legend. So cheers to Eric Lederman. Stay heavy, boys.
Stay heavy, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.